Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. I'd like to welcome you all to this online webinar on the topic of the Digital Madrasa Guide. And inshallah, during the course of this webinar, we're going to be looking at three different areas which we would like to focus on. We've got them right here on the screen for you. We will try to, inshallah, keep it within an hour, and we will try to answer any questions for around 15 minutes after the hour has completed and finished. So by around 6:15, we should be aiming to end this online webinar, inshallah. Just looking at the technical side of things, just making sure that everything is working. So inshallah, if you can make a note of this phone number that is at the bottom of the screen, we will be using that number and also the live chat on Facebook in order to take any questions during the course of the conversation, and we will answer those questions at the end. Now to continue, inshallah, the first part of this presentation, what we will be trying to do is we will try to look at online teaching tools for Islamic studies. So the teaching tools that are available in order to move the teaching online. As we all know, these are unprecedented times, and in such times of uncertainty, madrasas and maktabs around the world, not only the country, have had to take unprecedented measures in order to adapt and in order to continue the education of the children. In doing so, many have found it very challenging to find the right solution or to set it up in the correct manner. So we'll try to look at some of those solutions, inshallah, that are available for us to be able to teach in a engaging manner to our students. The second part will be, inshallah, covered by Qari Jasat of the National Huffadh Association, who is going to be looking at virtual methods to teach Hifdh and Qur'an studies, so particularly focusing on how to teach Qur'an online. And finally, we've got Brother Waqaus Ali from Ilm to Amal, knowledge to action, focusing on character building and well-being activities in this time where children and parents are locked up together for lengthy periods of time, days on end for many. We're not allowed to go out. It is a lockdown. So people will be getting on each other's nerves. So we need to try to work around making sure that the mental health and well-being of the parents and also the children is intact after this ordeal, shall we say, and also that we are using this opportunity in order to build their character using different activities. So inshallah, we'll let Brother Waqaus delve into that, and we'll finish off with a Q&A at the end. Once again, the number is there for you to message your questions on, and also you can use the Facebook Live chat functionality in order to ask any questions. Now, my part, I am Muhammad Qasim, and I work at Nasihah Publications. Alhamdulillah, we've got a wide reach of organizations who are using the curriculum and the syllabus, who look out for any resources that we have put out. So what we have attempted to do today is to share with you the feedback that we have received and the lessons that we have learned by talking to these many madrasas that have madrasas and maktabs that have established their online learning capabilities. So in my part of the presentation, which is only going to last another 14 minutes, inshallah, we'll try to keep it short and sweet. We're going to look at the options that are available for teaching online. We're going to also look at the issues that can hinder learning and possible solutions. And finally, we're going to look at online teaching methodologies. Finally, we're going to look at safeguarding issues after that, the issues that we need to keep in mind in terms of safeguarding. First of all, the options that are available for teaching online. There are many of them, and I'm sure you probably have a list of them. Many WhatsApp messages have been flying around, group to group, and from messages are going around all over the place of different tools that you have available in order to teach children online. As maktab teachers, madrasa teachers, even school teachers maybe we have here. There are multiple tools available for you in order to make learning engaging and enjoyable. So I'd like to go through these 5 that I have in front of me. I won't go through all of them in detail, but I will show you some of them, inshallah. And the first one is Zoom. And I feel as if Zoom is actually one of the best of options. Even the British government were using Zoom in order to have their meeting, their Cobra meeting that they had. So alhamdulillah, it is a well-established player in the market, you could say. And they have a free plan available for anyone really to be able to have meetings of up to 40 minutes. If you have 3 or more people on your meeting, you can have free 40-minute lessons as many times as you wish to have in a day. And there are additional functionalities that I'd like to share with you, inshallah, in a moment, that makes Zoom stand out for you to have lessons on for your madrasa, for your maktab. Then we have Google Classroom. Google Classroom, once again, is a free software that you can sign up to. Google Classroom is not live. It is for you to upload resources and set assignments and tasks and give polls. So it's not live, but it allows you to assess the learning of the children. So we'll look at that as well, inshallah. There is Skype. Skype is also a method that could be used by teachers, but there are some issues that we'll cover with that. And there's also WhatsApp. Many teachers have said that they've been using WhatsApp audio in order to send and receive messages from the parents' phones to listen to the children's lessons, their sabak, especially the Qur'an. And then there's Class Dojo. Class Dojo is an online platform, again similar to Google Classroom. However, it's quite different also. Similar in the sense that it's where you are able to upload work for the students, and you're also able to assign tasks to the students. But the way it is different, and it's actually quite advanced compared to Google Classroom, is that you're able to create the classrooms. Not only that, but it's more of a social network for education. If you would like to get the parents fully involved, you'd like the teachers to be fully involved, the students to be fully involved, you'd go for something like Class Dojo. But I would say that the learning curve of Class Dojo is much steeper than it is for the other platforms that we've just discussed. And then we've got Microsoft Teams. Now, Microsoft Teams is also another platform on which you can teach live. And again, you can have comments and chats, rooms that you could set up, and that's another option. But inshallah, for the purpose of this presentation, I'd like to only go through Zoom and Google Classroom. Skype and WhatsApp we're already aware of, and the issues, inshallah, I'll talk about in a little while. Class Dojo and Microsoft Teams would take too long to discuss today, but we can definitely have another session to discuss that, inshallah. So I'm going to share with you my screen to show you some of the functionality of Zoom. So if we open up Zoom, we have the option to sort of create meetings or even join meetings. This is the landing page that you would land on. As a teacher, what you would actually want is to go to the meetings tab, and you would be given a personal meeting ID. Every user has their own personal meeting ID that they are able to actually use to have meetings using the same ID multiple times. So the benefit of this is that if you have a class that starts every day at 5 o'clock in the evening, then you only need to give one link to the students, and that same link would be used every single day. You wouldn't need to give different links to students every day. If you were to just click on new meeting, you would be creating a new ID every single time, and that's not what you want, and you don't want to be sharing new links every single day with your students. So using the personal meeting ID, you can copy the invitation and paste it wherever you need to, on an email, on a letter, etc., and that would give them the link that they need to click. And once you start the meeting, you will connect to Zoom firstly, and you will land on something like this. You then have the option to check whether your microphone is working, your video if you are going to be using it, and then to see the participants that you have online at this moment in time. The participants would be all the students, and you are able to mute them, and we'll talk about why you should mute them, and unmute individually. So I could mute and unmute individually as and when required. Another option there is the chat functionality. If you click on chat, you'll see that there is a chat box here. You would want to use a bit of a restriction if you want to sort of make sure that not everyone is messaging everyone else. Participants can chat with host only, so they can only message the teacher and not anyone else, and no one else will be able to actually see those messages as well. And that's really about it. The benefit of Zoom is that you don't actually have to give your phone number, you don't have to take their phone number. All you have to do is on a letter or on an email, give them this invitation link, and once they click on that link, they will be able to join this meeting, and they'll actually be able to hear you and also see what you're trying to share with them. If you click on share screen, you're actually able to share any part of your screen with the students as well. If you have a page of the Qur'an or a picture that you want to show them, or something website that you want to show them, you're able to show them by clicking on share screen. So I'm going to end this meeting, and when we end the meeting, we click end meeting for all. That way you're actually closing everyone out and not allowing them to stay and talk to each other. So that's one of them. That's Zoom. If we go to Google Classroom, there we go. So on Google Classroom, if you've created a brand new account, you'll probably land on a page like this. You click on the plus icon, create class, accept the terms and conditions, and continue. You'll then be told to create give a name to your class. So for this one, I'm going to say Islamic Studies Class 1, and click on create. It takes a few moments until it's created, and once it has been created, you'll then be able to assign work to your students, give them a code to join the class. So they go on the same website, classroom.google.com, and once that's created, then they will be able to, you can give them this code, and they'll be able to come onto that particular class and join that particular class. If you want to assign any work to them, you go to classwork, click on create, assignment, quiz, question, put some material, maybe reuse a post, previous post. So there's many options here, and there's a lot to go through, which we unfortunately don't have all the time for. But that's a very good option. I would say use Zoom and Google Classroom in conjunction. Zoom to have the live lessons, and Google Classroom in order to give work and for the children to be able to submit work to you so that you're able to review it and give them marks for it. Moving on, there are potential issues that can hinder learning, and some possible solutions that we have thought of, and also we have learned from others that have come across these problems. So firstly, the biggest problem that we've seen is there's a lack of computer literacy. If you know, they might be able to use a computer, but to be able to join or to be able to click on the button join audio, or there are some minor issues. So you're going to face those, and the only way to solve that is to see who's having a problem. You've got their contact details, give them a call, guide them through, and once they've joined once, twice, you'll see that they'll easily be able to join once again. But if we make the steps very clear in the letter, and anyone that's having an issue further to that after that, then we guide them individually over the phone, or maybe even in person if you're able to, ideally over the phone in these circumstances, then hopefully they will overcome that issue of being able to join the classroom. Also for teachers, training should be given for teachers, have a meeting for teachers specifically, where a teacher who is competent in this is able to show them how it's done and be available to support them. There's also a steep learning curve to certain programs for teachers and also for students. If you try to give them work on Google Classroom without showing them where the work is, how to hand it in, even by sharing a video, you might be able to solve this problem, a video of how it's done. So the only solution to this is education, teaching them, creating a video yourself if you're able to. It's a very short video. Record your screen, send it to them, and show them how they are able to submit their work, how they're able to join Zoom if they need to. There's also the problem where there's a lack of immediate support. Students find themselves to be lost, especially if you've got something like Google Classroom. You've handed the work out and you've sort of assigned it to them. And they sit down to do the work, but they can't ask you by raising their hand and you'll be there to answer the question straight away. The children will maybe send you a message. There's an option to send messages on Google Classroom and also on Zoom, but you won't be able to respond straight away on Google Classroom. Even if you do, then you're only typing it up. So there's going to be that issue. You have to be extremely clear in what you want. You might need to even list it out as step 1, step 2, step 3, do this, or you're required to do this first, do that second, because it's easier to explain by speaking than it is by writing. It sometimes might go into paragraphs. So trying to be concise but clear would definitely help when giving out instructions and support to students online. That's quite important, because if they feel lost and they don't get the support in the manner that they were hoping, then you'll see that they won't get any work done, and feeling despondent, they might not even log on the next time. They might be making excuses. They won't get the work that's required of them completed in time. Then you might have issues of connectivity. Certain times it's a weak connection. You need to make sure that the teachers are sitting near the router or as close as they can, and also the students are given guidance that you need to sit close to a router. You need to, if they don't have internet connection, then what possibility is there for them to be connected using maybe a mobile tethering or any other method? If there is no way that they can connect, then some other thought needs to be given to what other kinds of work could be handed to them in print that they can complete and then hand back. And then there's the issue of device sharing. Some households will have 3 children who go to madrasa and school, 2 children sometimes as well, and they only have 1 device. 3 children, they only have 2 devices or 1 device. Then how would they manage to access the classroom? So this also needs to be considered, and if it's work that's given on things like Google Classroom, then you need to make it clear to them that the work can be completed in your own time, even if you didn't have time during the lesson time itself. And also behavior management. To manage the behavior of children online, it's actually a challenge of its own. Managing in the class is a challenge anyway, but online, when they feel they can write and type anything they want, or they could speak anyhow because the teacher's not in front of them, it is going to be a challenge. You have to be quite strict and make your expectations clear to them. Otherwise, you will see that I just had that happening yesterday, where one piece of work was handed to them, and I opened it at the time that I was supposed to respond to those messages. When I opened it, I had 99 messages waiting for me. 99 messages on just one piece of work, and that many of them, if I was to say majority, I wouldn't be wrong, were completely unrelated to the work. Where they started talking, one person asked a question, and then another, and then a third one, and they keep asking each other different questions, and then it goes off topic, and we lose track of the important ones as well, important messages. So managing that behavior, then I had to send a strict message to them to say, look, keep it to the topic, keep it to the subject. If you want to chat, you can talk to each other in other ways, but not here. Also, when having live sessions such as Zoom, you have the option to mute all students and unmute only the ones that you want speaking. So that way they can't be speaking over each other, and that way you can also focus on who is speaking and what they are saying. So to manage the behavior online, You can use these methods, and mainly it's about making your expectations clear to the students. And if they don't, follow and abide, then you've got to bring their parents in and get them involved to see how they can support you in this. I'd like to now I've got last 2 slides left, and inshallah we'll try to close this off. We've got different methods that you can use to teach online. Managing behavior online is challenging, I mentioned. Teaching online is also challenging. Now, not to be the bearer of bad news, but it is challenging. However, once you get your head around it, once you've done it 2-3 times, and we don't know how long this lockdown is going to be for, but once we get our head around it, and once we've played around with the software 3-4 times, 5-6 times, then you'll see that it will definitely become easier, and you'll then develop on your teaching methodologies. Now, in terms of teaching methodologies, it's not going to be that you speak and the students listen and get them to do the work, and then you check the work and that's it, it's home time, because it's online. You can't see the students, maybe they're not in front of you, and you're going to have lots of issues where children are not completing the work, or they're not understanding what you're saying, or they couldn't hear what you said. So we can introduce something called flipped learning. I'm sure many of you are already aware of that, where you give them the work on Google Classroom or by another method, via email or something, and you tell them to research or read up or find out some information about the particular topic that you're going to be teaching them. So if it's, for example, zakat, then you give them a few questions about zakat before they've even studied the topic with you. So you get them to do the work before they come to the class, and then in the class, online class, you're then able to guide the discussion, you're then able to answer any of their questions, you're then able to support them through the work that you set them during the class time. In addition to that, in Zoom, you can have like breakout meetings. Breakout meetings is where you can put 2 students, 3 students, 4 students together, put them in a discussion separate to the others, and like that create 2-3 groups. They have a discussion, they can come back, and that's actually one of the points on the screen also, where they have a discussion about a given topic, and then they feed back to yourself and to the rest of the class in an orderly manner, where again, like I mentioned before, you mute all of the participants and you unmute the ones that will be speaking at that particular time. Otherwise, you will notice that you can't hear everyone at once. Our ears are wonderful at listening, but unfortunately, speakers on a computer are not going to do a great job if you've got 10 people talking, 20 people talking at the same time. Having mind maps, getting the students to create mind maps of the work that has been given to them, of the topic that is being currently discussed, that will help engaging them. So instead of yourself giving them all the knowledge and the content, you give them sort of little snippets of information, get them to make some mind maps using the information that you're giving them, and use that to then carry on with the discussion, or make it a basis of a new discussion. Using polls as you're going along, you can set up polls in advance, and you can activate them as you go through the lesson. Give them a poll, give them 5 questions maybe on what you've just covered in the last 6, 7, 10 minutes, and then move on another 10 minutes of teaching and another poll that you have, to make sure that you are assessing their understanding, that you're making sure that you know that they are. This is a way of sort of questioning also, and that's one of the points on the screen, where you're able to ask them questions that they can answer verbally, and you direct the questions online to those particular students by their name, and you unmute their mics. Using this method, you'll see that they are all paying attention and they're also listening to you. Providing ongoing feedback. Online teaching is all about ongoing feedback. You need to get them, you need to give them the feedback to get them going. If they're stuck and you haven't given them feedback, they're waiting for you, they won't get the work done that you had hoped for them to get done. So give feedback frequently, and give it. It wouldn't be so detailed, but direct feedback relating particularly to a specific area that they need to work on. They can carry on working with that whilst you check the rest of the work that needs to be completed. So these are some methodologies you could put in place in order to make it engaging for the children, where it's not just you speaking and them listening and then completing some work that they have to hand in, but in this way they are involved in the lesson itself. They are also showing their understanding. They're also showing their ability in terms of the knowledge that they have grasped through the online classes. Finally, some safeguarding issues, and these are the boring parts. So I'm not going to go through too much depth into this. We can discuss this at another time as well, inshallah. But we've got to consider guidance for teachers, where teachers and students are ought to, if you have the rule that the teacher will not be on camera, then you need to make sure that the teachers follow that rule and they understand the importance of that. And similarly, students as well. The last point on this screen talks about family members. There might be family members within that room, and if you have the camera on, then you will be seeing all of what's going on in that room, which will cause a disturbance to yourself and also the students. So having guidance for that, making sure students are on time, making sure that they're punctual. They also are dressed up. You don't want them turning up, you know, how they normally show those pictures, online meetings where people are sitting in their PJs, having a meeting at the top. They've got a shirt and, their trousers are their pajamas. We don't want that happening. We want them to show full adab and etiquette of learning and knowledge of studying, so that they are fully dressed, and you have the parents on board for this as well. And that creates a learning environment, not a relaxed sort of laid-back environment. So that's the learning environment that we're trying to create. And also consider the modes of communication. Giving out phone numbers to teachers, there needs to be some sort of risk assessment of that, where you don't want to even Skype, for example, having one teacher and one student by themselves, or teacher talking to the student. There's no parent involved there. There's no other student there. Might not be the best option for you. Now, these are just ideas I'm throwing out there, and obviously you'd have to consider the implications of each of these points. There's also the digital divide. Like I mentioned earlier, not everyone has access to the computers. You might be putting children at a disadvantage by conducting lessons online and not considering the students that won't have access to the internet or to a device at their house. In most cases, they might have access, but there is still a proportion of society in this country, in the UK, that don't actually have access to the internet and access to computers or even smartphones. So you'd have to consider that and put in place the right things. And I've already mentioned about family members. These are some points I wanted to cover today in relation to teaching online. Hopefully it's been beneficial, inshallah. Hopefully we've taken away some ideas for what we can do. Just finally, I wanted to share with yourselves some places that you can get resources from. So we've got the Nasihah Teachers Forum, which has hundreds of resources shared by teachers around the world, free of charge for you to be able to download as many as you wish, as many times as you wish. And alhamdulillah, there's many of these booklets that children are actually using as well in order to color and answer questions. There's the e-safety on Islamic perspective and many others. Then we also have the exam portal. There's also Ilm Bank. You might have heard of it. If you haven't, check it out. It's a nice place. We've got Islamic Studies resources by Nasihah Publications. They also have hundreds of resources on their website. There's also IslamicStudiesResources.com. This again, a great website for resources. If you go onto it, there's subcategories that you will find multiple resources on. There's also many Instagram pages, just one for your knowledge and inspiration for you to search up more. The Maktab Project, it's a project every day that children are given that they are then able to complete at home, and teachers can assign this to the students, or even the parents can do it with their own children. So these are some places where you can get resources from and hopefully benefit and make our teaching engaging and enjoyable for our students. I'll end here, and inshallah I'd like to invite Qari Ishaq, who will take us through the next part of the presentation.
I think we have some technical difficulties. Well, Qasim?
Yes, it seems as if Qari Sahib's voice is not coming through. Qari Sahib, can you hear us? He's gone off, it seems. Okay, what we can do, inshallah, if we can have Brother Waqas instead, who can take us through, and then inshallah we'll join Qari Sahib at a later point.
Assalamu alaikum. No such thing as baptism of fire, you know, throw me straight in. Alhamdulillah. Okay, I'm just trying to...
yes.
What was that? Qari Sahib, if you are coming in any point, just give me a nudge, inshallah. I'm happy to make way, inshallah. Okay, folks. First and foremost, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Allah bless you all. Allah bless the team here for putting this together. I hope you can hear me, inshallah ta'ala. Hey, look who's come in.
MashaAllah, let's welcome back.
Bless the team here for putting this together. I hope you can hear me, inshallah ta'ala. Hey,
Qari Sahib, are you ready? Or you want to go on? Or do you want to let
I'm ready, yes.
Okay. I'll hand it over to the gaffer.
I don't know what happened there, sorry.
It's not a problem. You can share your screen, inshallah, and then we can...
yeah,
continue.
I've shared you already.
Okay, yes, now it's coming through.
Okay.
Yes, you just need to put your... I can see your screen now. You need to put your presentation on.
Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
No, that's not coming. Okay. I do apologize for that. If someone can just message, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. For some reason, I have shared the screen, so I'm just waiting for...
So the screen's not shared here at the moment. You need to share it once again, and then I'll tell you when you can start, inshallah.
Okay. I've shared it.
Wonderful. It's shared now. If you make your PowerPoint presentation full screen, and you can start now.
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Okay, sorry about that. So, just to go through, so there are some opportunities for the following platforms. So Skype, Microsoft Teams, Zoom. I'm not going to go into too much detail because Moulana Muhammad Qasim already went through that. And then we also have WhatsApp group, which I am going to go through. I do want to stress one thing for Qur'an. it's a very good opportunity to gain students' confidence as well, because obviously online is a very different platform. So recording audio, retrieving the information is quite important, and pupils, need to have this kind of exposure. As we mentioned, we don't know how long this situation could last for. So these are just kind of temporary measures that we're putting in place, but again, to help you kind of teach Qur'an from that perspective, inshallah. So just want to go over, really, in terms of Skype, and in terms of what can be done in terms of Skype. So again, with the actual app, you can actually have Skype in the classroom. So as you can see, this is an example of Skype in the classroom. You just log in and you can sign up for free. Obviously, because we're using Skype, so I can't really show you in detail, but you basically start typing, you sign up for free, and you can watch it. The main thing what I want you to go through is actually Microsoft Teams. So this is what we use in my school, and Microsoft Teams is actually a very good way to teach Qur'an and to teach Hifdh, okay? So again, this is a very common platform which many schools, many organizations are using this on a daily basis, okay? So for example here, if I go into the calendar, you can go through your calendar, you can have different activities, events. Students can also be invited into, for example, live videos. Then you also have assignments. Now, in the assignment section, for example, I'm just going to choose just a random class here, okay? So in the assignment section, you can create an assignment, you can create a quiz. And again, with the assignment, for example, with Qur'an, it can be questions, it can be even a quiz just for Hifdh, to get them more motivated in terms of Hifdh. But what I did want to go through is a very key feature in Microsoft Teams, which is the video feature, the live lessons, okay? So for example, if I went into, just an example, if I clicked on this, I can meet now. So if I click on meet now, you can add a subject, say for example, Hifdh class 7.1, okay? Now with that, you can start a meeting, and students can actually go into the meeting, and you can actually start teaching, for example. So I'm just going to demonstrate in terms of, you can schedule a meeting. So when you meet now, students can actually come onto the actual lesson, and students can actually pray to you. So you can listen to students, you can mute students as they pray, and you as a teacher have control over this meeting, and this meeting can also be recorded as well. So as well as recording, you can go back to it, you can listen to it back again. There's grades as well, so you can give students grades. For example, the students' class, you can create and mark assignments, and again, class notebook. Students that got particular mistakes in Hifdh, you can put that in there as well. I also wanted to go through the Microsoft web app. So, for example, this is an opportunity. So this is a class I've created, okay? This is a Madrasa Online admin I've created, for example. It could be, for example, I've got one here which I created earlier. And then basically with this one, you can actually have, so student 1, okay, recitation. And then you can actually press the voice note. So you can allow your microphone to be used. You made a mistake on this page. Can you please revisit this section, etc., etc. And then you can actually send voice notes. Students can actually send voice notes as well. It's a very good way of actually communicating as well. And it's actually good to actually, even for example, to do voice calls. You can actually have, for example, group settings. You can actually invite people to this group, and you can actually have group chats going on at the same time, so you can call up to 4 people at the same time. Okay, going back to the PowerPoint. There are some online learning platforms and Qur'an tools that you can use. So I've mentioned kind of 4 here that I use quite frequently as a Qur'an teacher, for example. So you have Quran.com, Alif Central, you have Qur'an Central, and you have also the Memorize app. Now, these are very good ways of teaching Qur'an in terms of just learning as well. So, for example, Quran.com, the reciter's voice or speed, can be, for example, adjusted as well as repeated in the same verse. So I'm just going to demonstrate the different types of websites. So if you go to the first one, Quran.com, over here, you can actually go to the verse. You can select which specific verse you want to go to. This is Surah Fatiha, for example. You can play the verse. So this will play the first verse of Surah Fatiha. You can copy the verse. You can also watch the English translation. If I want to search, for example, thunder, I'll type in thunder, and it will come up the following words that relate to the word thunder. So it's a very good kind of Quran Wikipedia as well. There's also Salah function as well. They've got a Salah.com feature as well. That's again good to learn for students. But most importantly, this is a good way for students to read Quran and learn at the same time. So you can listen to the reciter. It's got in English, Arabic, and it's got in Urdu, Bahasa Indonesian, Turkish, and French. There's also another app or website, in fact, which is called Qur'an Hive. This is actually a very good website which can be used. Again, you can search the translation. So, for example, if I search cat, for example, it will bring me Prophets of Islam, for example. It will bring me different types of words or verses that come through that as well. Again, you can change the verse of the ayah. You can make ayah, you can do verse 4, verse 5. The translation, you click on translation here, and you can actually choose which types of translations that you want to listen to. So, for example, you have Picthor, Muhammad Picthor, Sahih International, you have transliteration, etc. So you can actually choose what type of translation you want. Going on to the next website, this is a very famous worldwide app, Qur'an Central. It has over 270 reciters of the Qur'an. So you have reciters. You can select which reciter you want. So, for example, if I type in Sheikh Sudais will come up, and all of his Qur'an, the full Qur'an will come up. You can also download each clip. You can actually listen to the clip live here, and you can change the speed. So with the speed, you can change from normal speed to faster or to slower, depending on your preference. And this is endorsed by Mufti Ismail Menk. And it's a very, mashallah, it's a very valuable project made by Muslim Central, which is a leading developer in the Islamic world. If you type on Surah, you can click on Surah. If you click on Surah Nisa, all the reciters that have got their Surah Nisa on there as well, you can actually listen to their reciting as well. Okay. The last one I wanted to mention, this is quite useful for Alif Bata beginners, children in nursery or haven't started Maktab yet. This is made by the same organization, Muslim Central. Now, Alif Central is very unique. It allows you to have lessons. So, for example, if I click on this one, the alphabet, if I view the lesson, it allows you to click on different dots. Okay, and it's an audio for each letter. So students can actually go through each lesson. Okay, if I go to the movements, harakat, it allows me to, again, click on the different blocks and it allows you to go through this lesson as well. It's very interactive and very useful, especially for students that have just started madrasa, for example, very early beginner stage. And lastly, there's many applications that you can download. I've mentioned a few on the PowerPoint. So the Tahfidh app is made by the National Huffadh Association UK. With the Tahfidh app, you have over 300 reciters you can listen to. You have a Hifdh quiz, so every week there is a Hifdh quiz uploaded onto the app. There's a live stream function, Hifdh tracker, Hifdh tester. You can test your Hifdh memory. There's Hifdh resources as well, and there's lots of different opportunities for you to enhance your Hifdh as well. Also, there's a new app which has just been launched, which is called Tartil. With Tartil, mashallah, it's a very unique app. You basically type in your, you recite a verse, and then the user can actually view the actual words of the recitation will come up on the actual screen, which is quite useful, especially for those that are just reciting Qur'an or Hifdh. If you just want to test your memory of a particular verse, you can test someone as well. That's quite useful as well. But there are a number of, many apps that you can use for in terms of Qur'an and in terms of helping you. Just lastly, I want you to just focus on just some teaching tips before I finish in the next few minutes. So there are many challenges involved in terms of teaching Qur'an. Many of us have been thrown into a deep end. Online learning is not everyone's strength. As a teacher, adapt and encourage people to learn. Maintaining consistency is very important. I think we need to be consistent and set, whether it's 2 or 3 days a week, make it so that students can do something every single day. So maintaining consistency is very important. Parental support, get the support of the parents of the madrasa. They need to provide lots of support and encourage children to learn online. As teachers, we can't physically see who's learning online. We can only go by the online classes. And share good practice. MashaAllah, and the Nasihah portal is a very good way. There are many different types of platforms where teachers can share online learning tools. And inshallah, this can only improve your learning. So the National Huffadh, we have many useful ways of getting in touch with us. info@ukhuffadh.org. Our WhatsApp number is there. Our website is there, ukhuffadh.org. Instagram, we have 3 Instagram handles at UK Huffadh, at Hifdh Tips 365, and the Tahfidh app, which is also another way to get in touch with us online and Instagram. So Jazakallah khair. I hope that was useful. Please use online digital tools. For Qur'an is very important. We need to be sharing all the different types of resources for Qur'an and helping our students learn. May Allah accept it from us. Jazakallah khair. There will be a Q&A afterwards, and inshallah we'll go through that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Waqaus, and I am the Chief Executive of an organization called Ilm to Amal. So brothers, welcome, and sisters, welcome, inshallah, to this live feed. I'm going to follow on from my 2 esteemed colleagues, inshallah, and talk about the importance of character development and well-being, emotional well-being, mental, physical, spiritual well-being, inshallah. I'm just going to try something. I guess it's been a lot to take in, mashallah, the best part of 49 minutes. A lot of valuable information, a lot of valuable links have been thrown your way, and I hope, inshallah, you've taken a lot of benefit from them. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. If somebody could let me know the audio is fine.
Yeah, audio is fine, inshallah. Your screen needs to come up only, that's it.
Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen with you now, if you just let me know.
Yep, your screen has come up.
Okay, excellent, actually, inshallah.
No, this is Qari Sahib's screen, actually, I think, sorry.
Sorry, okay, let's try again. So I think I said if you switch your screen off maybe, and then I can maybe switch mine on if that's an issue. Let's try again.
Yeah, I think if you just close that Skype or minimize the Skype window. Wonderful, yeah. There we go, yes. Yeah. We can see
there we go. Okay, so folks, yes, inshallah, I'm not going to take too long. I kept it, I realized I was third in the queue, so I kept it light and minimal, inshallah. Before I start into a little small introduction on Ilm to Amal and what that's about, if it helps, I think some people may want to see a video, so I'm happy to turn on my Skype. That's me, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I think it might be very helpful if I just show you a quick video. I'm not sure if I'm able to do this, and by the way, this is my first time ever live online on Facebook. So if I pass out, it's not me acting or doing anything like that. I genuinely have anxiety pains right now, which I've never ever experienced in my life. And this is a coronavirus. It's bringing the best out of us and the worst out of us. And that's why this topic of character education and well-being, it's probably never been more important. I think it's really pertinent now. If you want to look at what's happening in terms of the, people fighting over a bag of rice in supermarket, young people not giving a, bag of pasta to the elderly, whether it's Muslim, butchers hiking the prices on inflating the prices on meat. That's the bad side of character that we see. I think there's amazing positivity and there's an amazing character that we're seeing, mashallah, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, who are basically demonstrating the true spirit of humanity, especially when your back's up against the rope. So this topic of character development is really, really important. Before we do that, I want to focus more on, slightly different to my colleagues who came before me, on bringing the learning to life in a fun, creative, practical way. Here's a video that we put together, and it was meant to go live last week, some of our storybooks and some of the events that we're doing. Unfortunately, obviously the situation has changed, so we've not shown this much. Not many people have seen this. So I'm going to show this, and I hope you can see it. I'd just like to make sure that the people viewing this, there's no musical instruments involved. It's 90 seconds. And, it's just a trailer of how to bring learning to life. And I think this is really important in this day and age, especially when the human attention, the human mind is, less than a goldfish, 12 seconds, 8 seconds, some say 8, some say 12. And now children, they're constantly bombarded with these devices. Although what we've done in our house is switch the Wi-Fi off and pretended that granddad hasn't paid the bill. And it's working because I'll show you, they come up with something amazing. This over here, it's amazing what children can do when, you detach them from Wi-Fi and the devices that they normally used to have. And I know this kind of goes against the theme of this webinar, which is obviously a madrasa, digital madrasa. I think that's needs must, but what I'm saying is that there needs to be a balance, and you don't need amazing techs and apps to basically bring the best out of your children, especially at home, and especially if you don't have the time, the capacity, or even the techniques. We switch the Wi-Fi off. I don't know if anybody knows what this is. Have you guessed it? Have a look. Maybe this sign over here might give it away. Yes, you've guessed it. All the cricketers and tennis players. That's Slazenger. And that's my sock, the white one. On top of that is my little girl's sock. So what they've done is they've come up with their own, they were both stiff. We switched it off yesterday. We switched it back on again. We switched it off again. And that's to really get them to focus, get them to realize that get out of your comfort zones, because your comfort zone eventually will kill you. You've got to conquer your fears. You've got to get out to, your learning zone. And when you're in your learning zone, you'll get to your growth zone. And that's what we've got to, and that's ultimately the objective of Islamic education and tarbiyah for that matter. This is, for your information, a sock ball. In case you haven't worked out, that's a sock ball that my children have come up with using socks. So one sock's rolled up into a ball, into another sock at the bottom, folded back out again. And like that, they're going to make a big ball like that, eventually become a basketball. But they're using that to come up with a game called dodgeball. And they'll play that from one side of the room to the other side of the room, and they have so much fun. So I'll come back onto different types of techniques, and this is just one of about 100 things they've come up with, mashallah, just in the last 2 days. And this all came because we switched the Wi-Fi off for a short while. So I just want to show you a quick video, and then I want to get into my slides, and hopefully, this is a bit of an icebreaker before I get into some really important stuff for you, inshallah ta'ala. And I think you're going to enjoy the resources and the techniques that are involved. More importantly, your children are going to thank you for it. I really know that from feedback, and I know that's going to be the case, inshallah. Let me just try this. If it doesn't work, folks, give me a shout out, and then I'll get into my presentation. Okay, I'm going to play this again. Just 90 seconds, vocals only. Just try to get the message that's coming across from this video. And it's called Bringing Stories to Life. Okay, guys, sorry, but I think there was an issue with, oops, not this next one. Forgive me on that one. Okay, so let's get back to this. So as I was saying, I don't know, can you hear me all right now? I know there's no sound on the video, and I apologize for that, but you can actually find that from our website on Ilm to Amal YouTube. Can I just, before I start the presentation, and inshallah, I want to keep this to no more than 10 minutes now before we get into the Q&A. We're actually coming up to 6 o'clock, so I apologize, we're running over. Are we okay? Is the sound okay and you can see me?
The sound is perfect, alhamdulillah. Just got to close the Skype window on the top right.
Okay, thanks very much, guys. And you can see the presentation okay?
Perfect.
Brilliant, okay. Okay. There we go, right. Okay, folks, I just want to focus, inshallah ta'ala, on 4 main points of advice. I'll keep the introduction to Ilm to Amal at the back. I'll reverse it now because I just want to get these 4 points of Nasihah across to my dear brothers and sisters who've been thrown into the deep end with digital learning or online learning. And I think these are really important points which I just wanted to share based on what I've been seeing for the last 6-7 days. And, you know, basically in terms of seeing lots and lots of links and resources and information being thrown from schools and then madrasahs. And obviously we've set this forum up because we want to be there as a support to your needs to make this task a lot easier, alhamdulillah. And Allah bless Qari and everybody else who set that up. But the 4 points I really want to talk on about Islamic education learning online are the who, the what, the how, and what else. And in particular, on the first point, I want to really stress the importance of your own emotional well-being, first and foremost, as well as that of others, namely parents and children. I think what we have to bear in mind, brothers and sisters, is, I've seen lots of rotas and schedules being thrown out from parents who've come into, with zeal. They're trying to basically set up lots of structured learning with their children, and whilst that's commendable and it's normal when none of us have been through this before. This is the first time, as Moulana Qasim mentioned, it's unprecedented, and we don't have anybody tell us this is what happened last time and here's a few tips. We're having to experience this for the first time, and as ironically, that is at the heart of the Ilm to Amal philosophy, which is experience matters, and we learn more through experience. And we're not going to get it right through experience, but as long as we are alive, we are reflecting, we are basically, questioning. It's really important. So the first thing is about your well-being and others, as well as the parent and the child. And let's not forget, you've got siblings. Some of you might be also parents who have children, and you've got to juggle the tasks. Secondly, you may have elderly people that you are responsible for in terms of care, and they are the vulnerable group. So we've got to be realistic here. There is a pandemic, a deadly pandemic going on here, and whilst these objectives are really noble and important, I think it's important that we do not neglect our emotional well-being as well as that of the others that we are trying to serve. Number two, I want to focus very quickly on the importance of akhlaq and character development. I'm not talking specifically about manners here, adab. I'm talking about actual character development. There is a big difference, and unfortunately this slot does not warrant time or opportunity to really go in and differentiate between the two. But particularly I want to look at the importance of resilience, values, emotional, mental, physical well-being, which really is coming under character development, and what they, how they feel, how they think, and in terms of what's happening around the climate of fear. Thirdly, I want to look at the importance of, that's well and good that you want to teach something, but how do you go about doing it? And the thing that I've seen over the years in my travels around the world and in classrooms in the UK and sitting at the back of madrasah classrooms as well as schools, even as a home educator myself, I'm talking to you now as actually a parent. I'm talking to you now as a home educator or a former home educator, an experience that I had. I think the most important thing that I see differentiating between those murabbis who are super good and very good, mashallah, and effective, and those who are mediocre or even, standard, or they're just not being able to get the best out of the children, is this third point. The former, the amazing teachers, they're not teachers, they're actually facilitators of learning. And what they have is a skill to be able to bring that learning to life. There's a saying that teaching is 25% planning and 75% theatre. So if you take the example of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, the second Khalifa, there's a saying from the Sahaba that when he sat amongst the big giants of Makkah, Medina, Khalid bin Walid, Sa'd bin Abi Waqas, he sat with Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, radiallahu anhuma, all these big giants he sat with. He was like a man in front of them, with them. And there was a level of respect at the manly level, at the human level. Now, at the adult level. But when he went home and he mingled with his children, he was like a kid with them. He was like a child with them. And I think it's really important, and I see this across the board, that the teachers who have the ability to, take the hat off, let's go for it. Let's go. Let's get the juices flowing, and let's bring learning to life. Let's be like the children. Let's let the children feel comfortable. It's okay to have fun. That's not the objective of our learning, but it's okay to have that in a halal manner. Let's be creative. Let's be flexible. Let them take the responsibility. Let them lead. So these are a couple of tips I want to give on bringing learning to life. And last but not least, I think it's really important that, like I said, many of us haven't been, all of us, most of us have not been through this before. And, usually when we start at Ilm to Amal, whenever we do anything, I think the other guys will tell you the same, it's really important about asking the questions more than it is actually about, knowing the answers. And it's those important questions that we need to be asking, that what do our children want? Have we ever stopped and asked this question about what are the parents feeling? Are they feeling, overburdened? Are they basically feeling confident? Are they feeling stressed? Now look at the schedules that some of these people have developed, and I think you're going to burn out, sister. You're going to burn out, brother. By 1 o'clock. And I'm seeing that actually. I'm actually seeing that before the lockdown came in, and lots of parents were getting in touch and saying this is too much. And this is what we want to do. Is we want to actually listen to your needs. We want to be able to identify what are your pain points, what are your needs, what do you want? Because alhamdulillah, not just in Ilm to Amal, Knowledge to Action, we have a dynamic creative team of designers, of writers, amazing team, mashallah, world class, and they're willing to, they've hung up and said, look, we're not worried about the long-term needs. Right now, needs must. What do our parents, what do our maktab teachers, what do our school teachers, home educators, what do they need from us? Most importantly, little Abdullah and Hafsa 8 years old, 9 years old, 14 years old, what do they need being locked in, suffering from cabin fever? And I think this is a really important thing at the end that I'd like to get onto. So I would just, without further ado, off the point about emotional well-being, I just want to stress very quickly a couple of points. And I think this is important for all of us. As I said at the beginning, you know, this is a very difficult time. As we know, it's a trying, testing time. And it's absolutely normal and natural to feel some level of panic, anxiety. I'm going through it right now. I don't know if you can see it. It's like I've got a big soft ball stuck in my throat. We've got to breathe through this. We've got to seek guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night. We've got to have sabr, but we've got to pace ourselves. Don't let the pressure, especially the peer pressure from institutes who want to, mashallah, continue learning with a noble intention, overpower you. You know, whatever XYZ is doing with their children, you know, you got to force yourself to move out of that. And don't burn out. The most important thing is don't burn out, because if you burn out, what's going to happen to 20, 30 children? So, folks, we're in it for the long term. And whatever that term is, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, don't worry, there's plenty of resources. You know, Moulana Qasim will tell you, Sheikh Hassan will tell you, we will tell you. I mean, I've got resources sitting here, right here now. There's 3 years worth, 160 lessons. Don't worry about it. Pace yourself. Take the time, brothers and sisters, please understand your own needs, the needs of your family members, needs of your own children, right? And then the needs of your learners. We don't ask the important questions about what exactly is it that the children need to flourish? What is it that's going on inside their head? And I think these are the kind of things I just want to bring around what the other two have been saying, which I think will be really important, so we don't have a crash system where both the educators and the learners are flat and, you know, burnt out. So with conscious of time, I think I just want to, you know, really say that I'm talking as a parent now, and my wife is a teacher, and often one of the disagreements that we have, and I'm just sharing this to you because it's a lesson for all of us. I don't think she's going to be very happy me sharing our domestics online on Facebook, especially on my first time, but let's hope her friends don't feed back to her. But the point I'm trying to make is we have a very different style of engaging with our children. I'm not going to say that my style is better than hers, but one critical difference is I've focused for the last 7 years, 9 years, 3 of my children, trying to connection with them, where they know what Papa likes, or what he is acceptable, or what isn't, and what the standards are that they need to be achieving for themselves. But most importantly, I let them know that I focus on the effort and not just the result. My wife, obviously, through her teaching style, or maybe her own upbringing, is very much focused on, you know, basically instruction, and that it doesn't always resonate. I think this is a key point about, you know, basically in terms of emotional well-being, that you've got to connect, not only look at your own emotional well-being, but also connect with your learners and focus on their emotional well-being. Talk to them about the failures, talk to them about their strengths, why they succeeded. And that why question is really important. Children love that. And that's to do with, you know, sort of to do with neuroscience in terms of the brain, and how the limbic part of the brain of children early on, certainly before 11, is the dominant one. I'd like to stress on the importance of daily exercise. That's something very beneficial both for physical and mental health. So an example here would be, I've seen and I've heard parents sitting with the children hours on end, trying to get through schoolwork, homework, lots of different links. Children need a break. One of the best things you could do is maybe limit that to 20, 30 minutes of, you know, encouraging them to do that, of structured learning, and then maybe give them a break. You know, or ask the parents, because you're the maktab teachers, ask the parents to, look, before we come on to the lesson, can you give them 15 minutes of exercise, or let them run around, let them play dodgeball, the softball, you know, those kind of things. But one of the things we've done on our website, on Ilm to Amal, I2A store, I for Ilm, number 2, A for Amal, and store, i2astore.com, you can find lots of well-being packs on this importance of well-being, mental health, managing stress. We got some more coming out, inshallah. Moving on to the second of my 2 points, which is about focusing on character development. And I want you to be able to work with the end in mind. Think about it, brothers and sisters. What do you want to see in your children and your children at home, you know, after this period? Why did we go to maktab? Why do we bring them through the education? What's the whole point of learning? So I want you to focus, whilst there's going to be a lot of focus on structured learning, a lot of fiqh, a lot of, information that they need to learn. I don't want to neglect the transformation. And that's the key thing at Ilm Tamal that we focus on, is not so much on the information, but more so on the process of transformation. Are they transforming from the information that they are gathering or seeking or taking in? I think it's equally important to make sure you don't neglect the character. And this wheel that you see here now is a diagram that many of you, mashallah, will know, in case some of you maybe haven't seen this before. But Deen and the way of Islam can be really broken down into two parts of Hukuk Allah and Hukuk al-Ibad. The rights of God versus the rights of creation, or the rights of Allah's creation. We don't tend to focus on the top part of that, which is beliefs and ritual worships. And as you've seen, there's a number of curricula out there. There's a number of syllabi that have done amazing work in this area that can cover this for you. At Ilm Tamal, we want to focus on the bottom three, which we think is either often neglected or just not ineffectively taught. Good character, akhlaq, social responsibility, mu'asharat, and the financial literacy, mu'amalat. We set this up really with one objective, which was we want to create a well-rounded, inshallah ta'ala, through our learning, we want to nurture a well-rounded, confident, active, ethical Muslim citizen who can become a leader, transforming them from learning into leaders. And you can see now the need for this, whether it's on the character, building of the resilience, whether it's on the social responsibility, on compassion to those in need, giving that one packet of pasta to the old lady instead of taking it home for yourself, or maybe, the bag of rice. You can see the social responsibility, not inflating the prices, being ethical with our dealings. These are really important parts. In fact, they're 2/3 of the deen. The top half is only 1/3. 2/3 of fiqh is actually at the bottom, and our children should not be void of this. If anything, this is the thing that's actually going to keep them sane and active. And I'm moving on, I'm just conscious of time. Now's the time to focus on building resilience and confidence in your home. Again, I don't have the slot to go into how. I often get frustrated at conferences on character. We talk about the what and the obvious stuff and preach to the converted. We know the Prophet ﷺ was sent to perfect noble character. The question that most teachers are looking for, and parents, is how do we do that? And I want to move on to that, inshallah, that you can really use a lot of the resources that are out there. Even salah, it's not necessarily a resources issue. Even salah you can use to connect on character with God and the character with the people. There's a lot of character strengths there. So we have some free resources on our website, again, on i2astore.com. You can pick them up and straight away use them. They've been designed, alhamdulillah, cleverly engineered to be used across 4 platforms. Whether you are a teacher at school, whether you are a teacher in the maktab, whether you are a home educator. Now, all of us are home educators, but prior to that, home educators who were dedicated to educating the children at home, they were using it. And then the club leaders like scouts and everybody, it's been used successfully across all 4, alhamdulillah. If you're looking for something more structured, then there's a parent book that we have, which I will show at the end, that we're making available, inshallah, that could be used. Moving on to the third point, I think this is the point I was trying to get across about bringing learning to life and making it practical, making it fun and creative. Learning doesn't only have to occur online. Yes, now it does, but using laptops and iPads, that's fine. But I think this is also a good time to get a balance, to disconnect and get back to the basics, the natural way of learning. Some of the simplest and most effective activities are those that actually bring learning to life, which are led by the children themselves. And this is what we find the most. Actually, the teacher's redundant. You don't even need a teacher there. The teacher needs to be a guide on the side, not a sage on the stage, right? That's really important, that we often basically get into teacher mode and we kill the learning. I think know the difference between teaching and learning. Facilitate the learning, less of the teaching, okay? And I've just got 2-3 points before I finish. One of the things that we've done about bringing learning to life here, you can see some of the learning packs. Inshallah, we'll be making some more of these available from the number of books that we have, alhamdulillah, that are in hundreds of institutes here and abroad. These are some of the storybooks that we've actually recently launched. And that video that you saw there was basically before the days of social isolation, where children were reading the stories and bringing them to life in a forest. and this is forest schooling basically, and you see amazing tarbiyah and creativity like you will never see in the classrooms. The same can actually be done inside the home. Honestly, it can. Just give it a try, and you'll see how amazing it is. So these stories and activity books are very good examples how you can read the stories to your children, but don't let the end of the story be the end of the story. Let that be the beginning of a journey of exploration, adventure, discovery, right? Critical thinking, and build on it with lots of discussions, reflection time, stories, and activities. You'd be surprised by the creativity of your children when given the bare minimum to, entertain themselves with it. And you can find lots and lots of things, brothers and sisters, in the house. Trust me. And you can leave it with them to create their own games. I'll give you a little anecdote very quickly. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when we were starting in schools, we said to the school teachers that we're going to try to do this same thing for the madrasas and the makatib. And they said, it's impossible. You guys are very highly sophisticated, very your resources are very sophisticated. They require a lot. In those days, we used to have PowerPoints. It's not going to work in the makatib. And I took that personal. I thought, I'm going to change that, because I don't think you need the big buildings and the big resources and the digital tools. I think some of the best learning, I certainly believe some of the best learning is actually done in simplicity. And my children are showing that to me now when we switch off the Wi-Fi for a couple of hours and switch it back on again. The level of creativity and productivity and initiative and leadership and responsibility complete drop when the Wi-Fi comes on. But when we switch that off, you'll be amazed. In fact, I would love to have another opportunity to show you some of the produce and what they've done. So, brothers and sisters, what I'm saying here is you can even check out Pinterest for ideas and activities that can be done within the comfort of your home, inshallah. These books are brilliant. They've been produced with, I think, by one of the best creative artists that we have in our team and on these shows, mashallah, tabarakallah. I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that. The proof is in the pudding. Speak to my children or anybody else who's got these books, and you'll see how they bring in those to life. And it's all about character development, and very well written, very well, superbly designed. It relates, so the children relate with this. And mashallah, it's there to bring it to life. I did say to you that we will get to the end of the point, and I want to stop talking, and I want to open my ears, as Moulana Qasim was saying, that, we really need to listen to what you have to say. So my colleagues and I have decided here with Qari Ishaq and Moulana Qasim that it's time to hand over to you and let you drive this, because we have people who are creative artists, we have designers, mashallah, we have people who are good at training, they have parental training, teacher training, years of experience. We're here to help, but because this is new territory for all of us, we're going to put out an email or a message tomorrow. If you go on to ilmtramal.com or the Instagram, you'll be able to see, brothers and sisters, that's just for the information when you're looking in terms of the website. There's the i2s.com. There's lots and lots of free resources. Inshallah ta'ala, we're making lots more free that we, initially weren't free, but we're making them free as our self-Jariya and inshallah, a little bit back to the community. There's also lots of other structured curriculum that you can basically, if you want to purchase additional resources, they're also available, subject to, transport and parcel force and delivery. Of course, we can get them to you through your letterbox, and trust me, your children are going to love it, and they're going to thank you for it. And you will, inshallah, thank us for it. There's children books, there's a curriculum, the free resources, they're all there. If you go onto Instagram or you want to get in touch with us on email at info@ilmtramal.org, we just want to know what your pain points are, where can we better utilize our resource, inshallah ta'ala. And that's all we want, is that we want to know. I must say to you, please, we do expect lots and lots of wish lists. What we're looking for really is a to-do list in terms of the high priorities and what skill sets do we have, or my colleagues who are here, how can we as an ummah, Muslim community, work together in a smart way that can utilize our minimal limited resources once this pandemic is over us, and be able to meet the needs of your needs and the needs of your children and learners and parents and everybody else. That's, I think, the smartest way that we can work. At the moment, we are shooting blind. We're just trying to throw lots your way. I think that's going to be overwhelming for lots of people. It already is. So we don't want anybody to burn now. So inshallah ta'ala, I will leave you on those 4 points about your emotional well-being. Number 2, do not neglect character development of your children. Bring it to life through practical, fun activities. Keep it nice and short. throw the ball over to them, let them lead, let them sort of design their own things. And last but not least, we would love to hear from you in terms of how we can basically serve your needs moving forwards. Barakallah feek, jazakumullah khairan. Allah bless you all. Stay safe, inshallah.
I mean, Jazakumullah khairah, Brother Waqas, for that wonderful insight that you provided. And Allah reward you immensely. Allah accept it, and hopefully it was beneficial for the listeners, inshallah, and for those that have joined us today. What I'd like to do now is that I would like to take some questions that the viewers, listeners might have. We've got a few questions that have come in. I'm going to type them up here so that everyone is able to see them in one place. And inshallah, Brother Waqas will read them out and he will direct them, and he will start answering some of those questions, inshallah. So the first question, I'm going to say it myself as I type it, is what is the best way to make Islamic studies more fun for children at home? I think, Brother Waqas, we've mentioned it already, but if you can maybe just give some pointers for that.
Thank you. Is that question back at me then?
Yes.
Thank you to the brother and sister who put that question forward. I think this is a key question, and I couldn't go too much into it with limited time. But in terms of if the question was mainly around how can we make it fun and anything else?
That's it, yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, look, there's a lot. So I think we're not short of this is not a difficult question. I know it can be a difficult question for many of us who do not know what fun looks like or whether we can even have fun, right? But honestly, in all honesty, I don't think this is all that difficult. I think the most important thing is the following: you need to know the love language. This is before you even shoot down to. I know the easy answer would be, here, go and do this activity. Here's this technique. Go and do this. I think this is a secondary thing. What you apply is actually a secondary thing. I'll just put the video on if it might help brothers and sisters see me. I think this question, before you even go down into choosing the array of activities, the techniques, all of the resources that you have at your disposal, before you even go to that, brothers and sisters, the most important thing is unlocking this question. Do you understand the love languages of your children? Do you understand what makes them tick? Fun in your eyes and fun in our eyes or minds might not be fun. It might be totally boring, and often it is. What we find fun and enjoyable, children say, oh, that's boring. So I think one of the most important things, and I'm just telling you now because this is what I've done. When I was talking to you earlier about the comparison of different styles, parenting styles that my wife and I have, we joke about it, and I've seen her do some amazing stuff. Don't get me wrong, she does, mashallah, she can get through them sometimes that I can't. The difference is this, that I've spent a lot of time studying, because my background is in occupational psychology and human development. Study the children and their emotional needs. And what I mean by emotional needs is, what does love mean to them? Or how do they feel valued? Or how do they define love? And Dr. Gary Chapman in America, for those guys who are not familiar with the 5 love languages, Dr. Gary Chapman is a guy who has 5 love languages. You can check him out, Christian guy, some really, really good stuff he puts out. He's defined 5 love languages. I'm going to try to remember off my head. 1 is spending quality time. 2 is receiving gifts. 3 is basically physical touch. 4 is words of affection. So saying nice things. And I think these are 4 or 5. I may have forgotten one. Receiving gifts. These are 5 I've mentioned. I think this is connected to what fun looks like and what fun means, because when you feel valued and when you feel like your head and your heart are in it, you will enjoy it. That's where fun comes from. And to unlock that, you need to understand the love languages, brothers and sisters, of your children. Some might want physical play. Yeah, that's physical touch. Some of them might want physical play. My boy, and this is, by the way, those of you who've got boys, or those of you who've got, if you're teaching a girls' class and boys' class, boys before 7 learn through physical play. Girls, more through cognitive development. And you can look into the brain science of girls before 11 and boys after 11. The girls develop maturity a lot. The brains actually develop a lot faster than the boys do. Sorry, guys, but it needs to be said. And this is really important. So someone might want physical play, physical fun. So you need to now work out what to do. So with my boy, instead of giving him a hard ball, I come up with this. I said, well, I didn't come up with this. I said to him, look, what do you think you should do? And I said to him, I told him a story many, many years ago about when we were staying inside a mosque, and this is what we did. And we couldn't come out with a football, couldn't afford one, but we created sock ball. And this is the kind of things that they will come up with. There's lots and lots of activities, brothers and sisters, that you can do. Inshallah, I think I'll stop here, but I've answered that question in indirect way deliberately because giving you tips and techniques, there's whole websites that are developed for this. You can get this information outside of this webinar. The most important thing, which I think we need to realize, is look at your learning and think, right, the children in my class, do they want physical play? Do they want gifts? Do they want creative art? Are they scientists? Are they driven by discussion? What kind of things can they do inside of the home that we can come up with? And trust me, there's resources everywhere that you can actually do lots and lots of things. I've got too many ideas to share. Inshallah, if this hasn't sufficed, Ilm to Amal for sure, and many, many others, Pinterest, for example, many other ideas. There will be tons of ideas coming through in the weeks to come, inshallah, about how you can make learning fun at home, inshallah. I hope that answers you.
Jazakumullah khairah for that. I think it'll be best if I read the question because they're in front of me and you'll probably be seeing them later. So next question I've got here, be addressed. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we've got the next question here. Which platform is best for online teaching? I think we've covered the answer. If you do replay back to the beginning, you'll see I was talking about the best platforms that are available for teaching out there. And at the moment, by far, it's the most used, the most easy, I would say, is Zoom people are using. In addition to that, Qari Ishaq also mentioned about Teams. So if you do go back to that point in the videos, in this video, then you'll find out more about Teams as well, Microsoft Teams, that is. So these are two methods that you can use for online teaching, live online teaching. Otherwise, if you don't want it live, then you can use things like Google Classroom or Class Dojo. There is also obviously Skype and WhatsApp teaching also if you want to look at that. The next question we've got, we do have time is short, so we'll try to get through as quick as possible. How do you get parents on your side for online teaching? If we can get, who wants to answer that, Brother Waqas or Qari Ishaq? A short answer.
I can take this one, inshallah.
Yeah.
Jazakallah. So how to get parents on your side for online teaching. So I'm also a qualified teacher, alhamdulillah. I am head of department in my school, a secondary school. What I found is a lot of parents are quite supportive, mashallah, in terms of secular education. But unfortunately for madrasa, it is quite challenging to get parents on side because obviously madrasas themselves are now having to adapt and trying to get to grips with online technology. I think the best way is to maybe somehow create, one madrasa did in London did a meeting, on Zoom for parents. So parents logged in and there was a Q&A. It was very well structured. And also parents had a chance to test the software. So what better way is there to get parents involved than to actually hold a meeting with them? So maybe hold a meeting via Zoom or Microsoft Teams or any other platform you have. And it's that way. Another way is a WhatsApp broadcast or a WhatsApp group. Keep parents in the loop. Keep on sending parents messages. Chase parents up if students are not logging in online. Kind of put the pressure on them, so to speak, and it'll give parents a part to play as well, inshallah.
Okay, wonderful. Jazakumullah for that. The next question we've got: does Nasihah provide online classes? Online classes, live classes, Nasihah doesn't provide, but we provide the resources, and there are certain other providers which use the Nasihah curriculum in order to provide online and tutor-based classes. You can look at our website or get in touch with us on annasihah.com. The website is on the screen right now, and we'll be able to guide you, inshallah, to those particular people. The next one, I think Qari Sahib, you can answer this one. Which Qur'an app is the best to use for Hifdh?
That is a very tough answer. There's so many, subhanallah. I would say have a look around on the App Store and the Play Store. Obviously, I mentioned the Tahfidh app which we've developed. There's Tazdeel as well. There's Qur'an Hive. There's many. Again, if you go back to this webinar, but I think generally speaking, each app is probably relevant to a certain audience. So, for example, if you want just resources, then you'd use a Tahfidh app for Hifdh. If you want to listen and recite Qur'an, it may be the ones that are slightly more advanced. If you want an app that helps you to learn the meanings or the English translation, again, it's just about research. So there's so much out there. I guess it's difficult to pencil down. I think inshallah the next few weeks, we will try to release a list of key apps that we've tested and trialed, and we've kind of we can kind of say, yeah, this is very relevant for madrasa. We can maybe try to release kind of the top 10 best apps rated by us. But again, each family's needs and wants for learning Qur'an is going to be difficult. But yeah, do check out the Tahfidh app, the Tartil Qur'an app, and Qur'an Hive, the ones that we mentioned here. But again, I would just say just try and do as much research as you can, and just see what suits you the best. Download them. You can always uninstall the app as soon as you don't want to use it anyway, and then inshallah take it from there.
Jazakumullah khairah for that. And I think we'll take the next one also. If we keep it a quick one, I think it relates to the last answer, is how would you teach Nadhira or Quran to an online class, a live one?
For that one, again, I don't want to go into too much detail. Moulana, probably you can add to it as well. I think, again, maybe Zoom or Skype. It just depends on the capacity of how many students. Obviously, Zoom has a limited amount of attendees. I think it's, Moulana, is it 40 or 100?
It's 100 attendees for 40 minutes at a time.
So maybe that might be ideal, because Nazir classes will generally be a shorter duration. But again, it just depends on what the facilities are available, what resources are available. I don't know if you can maybe elaborate on that, Moulana.
There's many available out there. We've discussed them, I think, in the during the course of this presentation. So if you do go back to the video, I think inshallah they'll find it easily. If we can move on to the next question, I think Brother Waqas can take this one, although Qari Sahib did allude to it. How do you keep students motivated for online learning, especially with no parental support?
Brother Waqas can answer that.
Yes. Brother Waqas there?
Thanks, Qari Sahib. I think this is a really important question, because we're seeing that children. I'll try to keep it short, inshallah. This is a really important question because the disengagement ratio is very high. What I mean by that is children switch off very quickly with online because there's no physical presence of the teacher. The cat is not even in the room, and the mice are going to play. So I think this is really important. And the way we have seen our Ilm to Amal work, because we don't do online teaching. We've never done online teaching, so I wouldn't be able to tell you from an online perspective how we do that. But if I take the same techniques, and I'm a firm believer that the techniques that work in the classroom, they're not too far away from having those techniques applied, online, and how that works. So, for example, one of the things I think the teachers need to do as well as the parents, so if this question is from a teacher, or if this question is from a parent at home, I've seen the difference when teachers use rewards and hold the students with the expectation of accountability. So I think what we need to do, one of the things I'm suggesting, and this is my personal opinion, I think what I've seen constantly is if you set an expectation for the children and you speak to them at the heart, and that's my approach, is I'm very personal with my students, is that you speak to them and tell them, look, what's the purpose of this education? What's the purpose of you existing? Why is your time limited? Why your time needs to be spent? You don't answer the questions, you ask the questions, and you put the children in the driving seat of their own learning. Now, when you do that, you get the children motivated. The most important thing, like I said earlier, the question here is about motivation. How do you get the children motivated? It's simple. If you work out the language of love that child values or needs to feel valued, feel loved, that's the one you keep pushing. So some people love gifts, some people love rewards. All of us love rewards. And the anticipation of how you execute that reward. In other words, star charts, how you use a star chart for younger children, I often see that many people actually don't use a star chart intelligently. If you have 30 children with a star chart put up, and 29 of them are behind one person, they give up. You shouldn't show the star chart to the child until the end. So this is using suspense, right, of hope. And you also couple that with fear. In other words, saying, okay, well, you're going to be left behind, you're going to miss out on what this person is going to achieve, X, Y, Z. You use hope and fear in the bubble of suspense. Don't reveal the progress. And I'm just pointing to the corner of my room because I can see the mashallah box sitting there. And my children are so motivated. They're below the age of 10, so it probably doesn't work for 14-year-olds. Certainly for my children, they cannot wait to put their hand up to ask questions. They can't wait to get here before the class starts, 15, 20 minutes, setting up. They can't wait to vacuum the room because I have listed to them and the things that really matter and the things that will get them the rewards. And they can't wait for the name to get into the mashallah box. But I don't reveal that mashallah box is the top security. It's sealed. They don't know, how many, who's in the lead and that post. So I think the most important thing I'm saying here is, as an example, one of the key things is set rewards for your children and set an expectation that if you do this, you will get this. And if you don't do this, you're the biggest loser. And I think that's what we've got to get across. And this is just one of the simplest ways and many things that you can do in motivating them without parental support.
Jazakumullah khairah for that. I think that's brilliant. And I think you've actually answered the question after that is about how do you manage behavior online. So what you've covered actually answers that question as well. I think we'll move on to the next one, and I'll just do the next two if that's fine. The question is, how can safeguarding issues be addressed? I spoke about that a little bit earlier on. We can inshallah look back at that part of the video. But main things you need to consider is you need to have a risk assessment in place in order to assess what the risk associated with teaching online and for the students studying online. Clear guidelines for teachers and clear guidelines for the students and there's full traceability of the work that is being done by the teacher and also the comments, etc., that is made by the students and the work that's produced by them. If there's clarity and transparency in the way it's done, and there's possibility of third parties' insight into the work that's being done by the teacher, then you'll avoid many of the issues that can crop up, safeguarding issues that can crop up. So if you want certain templates and guidelines that have been produced, the WhatsApp number for UK Huffadh Association is on the comments. If you go onto that, we'll post it again, I think. Message over there, and we can maybe send you the PDFs that have been created by some organizations. If you message us at Nasihah through the website, we can share with you some of the policies that are available as well. The question after that, if I may as well, how do you teach young learners, 5 to 6 year olds? With that kind of an age, it's not going to be an easy sort of a task to teach them online and to keep them engaged. So some teachers that we've had a discussion with, they've said that the main responsibility for supervising the children will lie with the parents, and we need parental support in that. But like Brother Waqaus mentioned earlier about having rewards and even suspense and providing them with the feedback of that, of how far they are up the rocket or whatever it is that you're rewarding them using some
rewards along with accountability.
Accountability. So reward and fear. Al-iman bayn al-khawfi wal-raja. That iman is between hope and fear. So they know that if they don't, then there is accountability there as well. So both of those, inshallah. Jazakumullah for the pointer. But if we use those for the children and we keep our instructions short, again, like Brother Waqaus mentioned earlier on, move away from being the sage on the stage to being the guide on the side. Instead of having long discussions and long bayan, having a big long talk, the children will disengage very, very quickly. So we need to keep it short and sweet and simple, give them activities and ideas that they can complete with their family, they can experience, go out and do something with what they have learned, and then feedback to you about what they have done. That will actually be better in order to teach them Islamic studies. And the Qur'an lessons, some of the teachers have told us that they keep it short and sweet, give them a 5-7 minute slot. They read the amount to the teacher in that amount of time, and then the rest of the time they are learning with their parents at home. So then you don't have to manage their behavior whilst being online and sort of the other issues that crop up with that.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Yes.
add very quickly, Mona. Sorry, with the Quran teaching, a lot of madrasas are doing like whether it's recorded WhatsApp messages, etc. Remember, with the Quran teaching for Hifdh, the most efficient way to do it is live learning, because then there is no obviously discrepancy. The students that are making mistakes, they can be picked up on live. It's not the case that you're having to revert back to a recording. You don't know whether that recording may have been done looking without the Quran by heart, basically. So I guess just to kind of maintain accuracy and transparency for Quran teaching, try to keep it live as possible as you can, inshallah.
And I think one question there for you, Qari as well, that's come through, which I haven't put on the screen yet, but is that the teacher says that I teach 4 students at a time. So how would I do that online? How would it be possible to do that online, basically?
Okay, so this is quite a good way to do it. If you do 4 students at a time, it's perfect. You can actually do. I mean, there's a couple of ways. The most efficient way is on a WhatsApp video call, for example. If it's possible, you create a group with those 4 students. You can actually do a video call with 4 students at the same time. You can mute each person, or each person can mute themselves. Only one person is speaking or reciting, and obviously. You can keep an eye on all students at the same time on one screen. That's one way of doing it. Or you can do a Microsoft Teams, as I showed you earlier. But I think for a smaller class, I think WhatsApp group would be most ideal, because it's obviously not an entire class of 15 or 20 or more. And in that way, you can monitor live the screen. On the screen, you can actually see the faces of all 4 students as well.
And the last question we've got, is there an online teaching policy that has been formulated? Anything from yourselves, Brother Waqas, Qari Sahab?
In terms of from our side, we haven't really formulated. I said I will probably do one maybe for Quran teaching, and maybe Nasihah, National Huffadh, Amal. Maybe we can formulate an online teaching policy for Islamic Studies, Quran, and maybe character building or something. And I'm sure we can liaise with each other and maybe try to develop something, inshallah.
We do at Nasihah have a policy, a risk assessment actually that's there for online teaching, so that can be shared if anyone wants to get in touch with us, inshallah, over the website.
Sure.
And we can do that, inshallah.
We only have one policy at this moment in time. Just don't go outside too much.
Stay indoors.
10-15 minutes outside maximum. Just do what the Boris Johnson is saying at the moment. But yeah, I think that would be a really good idea if we could put together some guidance.
Inshallah.
I would like to hear from the parents and the maktab teachers first and foremost.
Inshallah. I think that's the one thing we want to take away from this, is that we've had lots of discussion, alhamdulillah. What we need from the teachers and the parents are still listening in is what do you need at this moment in time? We can throw lots of things at you, like Brother Waqas said, but we want to be able to provide you with what you actually need. So if we can get, inshallah, yourselves contacting us, the Ilm Amal and Nasihah, National Huffadh Association, anyone, so that we can then work together to formulate and put together resources that would actually be of most benefit.
Inshallah.
Final
just want to say before we finish, Jazakallah to you all for tuning in, and I hope it's been beneficial. As Moulana Qasim said, we can't just give out any resources. We need to know what the demand is, and specifically give out resources which is in dire need. And inshallah, some people have been WhatsApping, so we are hoping to do once a week, inshallah. So we will be doing this once a week, inshallah. It may not be the same day and the same time, but we will try to do a weekly slot between the 3 of us, inshallah. And hopefully moving forward, we can kind of tackle more relevant teaching online issues for madrasa, inshallah. Brother Waqas, sorry.
No, just wanted to wave goodbye to all the teachers and everybody who's joined in and sacrificed their time. I'm sure we've been more entertaining than listening to Boris Johnson at 5 o'clock.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
As a farewell,
Definitely.
As a last point for me, inshallah, is that teachers, you got this. Seriously, inshallah, you know, don't worry about it. Do your best. Take care of yourself first and foremost. Take care of the people around you in your house. And then inshallah ta'ala, the parents and the teachers, you got this. And, you know, sooner or later, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to get back to the madrasa and it'll all be, you know, over soon, inshallah ta'ala. But please don't burn out.
Inshallah. Moulana Qasim, before we finish, could you do a short dua, please?
Yes. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنا نعوذ بعزتك من سخطك وبمعافاتك من عقوبتك ونعوذ بك منك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما والحمد لله على كل حال. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله. اللهم احفظنا من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. اللهم احفظنا من هذا الوباء والطاعون يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على النبي الأمي وعلى آله وبارك وسلم تسليما.
آمين.
جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله.